Dear friends, today's readings provide some insights to help us grow in spiritual maturity as we come closer to God. And each reading gives us a challenge. Let me share with you a true story about how an ordinary young couple faced such a challenge in their life. Millard Fuller attended law school at the University of Alabama in the 1970s. His goal in life was to become fabulously rich. He was obsessed with making money. Fuller married his wife Linda in his senior year in the college, and they began a family together. But his intense desire to become filthy rich took its toll on the family. Fuller was spending all of his time at work and virtually no time with his family. It got to a point when Linda, his wife, was considering leaving him. Then, one night, they sat down, talked out their situation. The conclusion they arrived at would remind us of today's words, where Jesus tells his disciples, "If your hand makes you lose your faith, cut it off." This seems very harsh to us. Jesus did not mean this literally. In other words, Jesus is telling us, if your money is keeping you away from the gospel values, you would better make few changes. It is better to make those changes now than to lose your life in the world to come. That is what exactly the Fullers decided to do. They were millionaires, and that was causing all their problem. The wealth was destroying their lives and their marriage too. Worse yet, it was threatening to destroy their entry into God's kingdom. But to the surprise of many, they did something incredible. The Fullers decided to give away every cent of their millions. Their families, their friends, their business associates were completely shocked by this radical decision. After donating everything what they had amassed over the years, the Fullers moved into an interracial community in Georgia called Koinonia. This Koinonia farm was founded by Clarence Jordan. Fuller got the idea during his life at this place to begin building non-profit homes with no-interest loans in partnership with the poor people. And these homes would be occupied by the same poor people later on. And that is how, in 1976, the idea behind Habitat for Humanity was born. This idea captured the imagination of all kinds of generous people. So much so that by the year 2000, this non-profit organization was building 10,000 homes per year in 40 different nations around the world with purely volunteer help and donated resources. For example, presidents like Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, and so many high-profile people have spent their time working side by side with these volunteers, carrying lumber, sawing the wood, and swinging a hammer in building such homes. Other people became involved not only in contributing money, but actually doing on-site work along with others. This brings us to today's readings. To make his point loud and clear, Jesus uses a very shocking image, as we already heard, we must be prepared to take drastic steps or measures to separate ourselves from whatever that might be keeping us away from the Lord and living His gospel message. The story of the Habitat for Humanity shows us how the courageous decision of this young couple changed not only their own lives, but the lives of millions of people around the world. Apart from the hope it gives to the poor, it also inspires those who get involved in such projects to change their own lives for the better. Dear friends, today's gospel passage and the story of the Habitat illustrate that the miracle of multiplication of loaves and fish continues to repeat itself even today. That is, just because one person decided to live the gospel message in their daily life. In this context, Clive Hamilton speaks about wealth. When is too much enough for us? He wrote a famous book called Affluencer, and he writes, "Some people keep striving to be richer because they believe more money means more happiness." We know this is not always the case. By contrast, the desire for possessions can destroy a person's life like a fire. This all-consuming fire can cause a person to be oblivious of the needs and rights of other people. And so the question for us now is, what are we doing with our talents, our gifts and resources to serve the Lord and His gospel?